So good morning everybody and welcome to our first episode of Talk Design. So the idea with these is that they are a series of meetings or events that we bring designers or innovators or creative people working in design and manufacturing, and they're going to talk to us about what they do and how they do it, so we can have a sneak peek into their world, hopefully learn a bit, but most importantly, hopefully as well, that we're going to get inspired quite a lot. Our guest today is Jordan Burns, who's been working. Here we go. Say hello, Jordan.
Hi.
Jordan has been working as a designer for a fair few years now, and he's been kind of working within consultancies and working for other companies as well. But the last few years he's been freelancing. So I don't know, Jordan, over to you really. I'd like to start by asking you, just explain a bit about your journey career-wise so far, what you've done, what you've been working on, and ultimately what made you decide to go freelance, and just talk us a bit about that then, please.
Yeah, so like everyone here, I went to Bangor Uni, graduated, got a job, probably wasted a couple of years just spending money and drinking. And you know, when you come out of uni and you get a job, it's like mental. It's like I'm a student loan every month. So I did that for a bit, and then I kind of switched on and went to work for a consultancy in North Wales called Design Reality. And I was there almost 2 years, I think. Started out as a product designer, then moved to a senior role where I was doing more managing teams and projects. And then I just kind of, you know, being in the consultancy is a stressful job. I guess being a designer is a stressful job because it kind of consumes you. And I thought, why would I do this for someone else? Why don't I just do it for myself and then be my own boss? So then I decided to go freelance, and I've been doing that now for 3 years. 3 years and 1 month, I think. So in terms of doing freelance, I've been doing like contracting, so hire, like almost like a gun for hire for companies to just support them on projects, do CAD, mechanical engineering, product design, industrial design. And as well as that, I've had my own freelance projects as well, like with individual clients, you know, developing products for them or doing branding work or just strategic consulting. And then about 2 months ago, I started another business called Device, which is intended to act like an innovation consultancy. So rather than designing physical product or digital product or any kind of product, we just generate ideas for businesses to do design products and to kind of make the world a better place. And the presentation I'm going to do today will be kind of through Device, so that brand, and I'll be delivering it that way. Hopefully we can get you a bit inspired and get you feeling good after this. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell, I think. Should we launch into it?
Absolutely, Jordan. Yeah, launch into it by all means. Hopefully you can share the screen.
Yes, you might see yourself for a minute, but there we go. Cool. So full screen, brilliant. So there's a disclaimer at the start because I tend to swear quite a lot, and it's not from a place of to cause any offense. It's just I'm really, really passionate about what I talk about. I'm going to leave out COVID-19 and politics just because it's really depressing, and I want it to be a positive talk. So please do try all this at home and try and, you know, put some of this into practice, because that's why I want to talk to you today, to hopefully get you doing more stuff and putting some of this into practice. So the title of the talk I'm going to give today is called Unfuck Yourself, why you're the reason you're not achieving your dreams. And what I really want to focus on is why a lot of people often hold themselves back and think negatively, and how we can undo that and really allow ourselves to do better work. So I spoke before about Device, a business I started a couple of months ago. We run events as well called Creative Plus, where we kind of get people together and do workshops, which has all been halted because of COVID. But as well as that, we do kind of we output a newsletter every month. We develop other content as well, which I'll share links to, but give us a follow on Instagram. So normally when these talks happen and when I see people coming to unis, and I've done this as well, it's always, you know, I come on and I've just done it now. So I say I don't like it, but people come on and say, oh, I left uni and then I did this and then I did that. And then I got a job, and it's just like, it's a bit boring and a bit self-indulgent. So I didn't want to do that today. I wanted to kind of give you tools to go forward and do stuff yourself, because what's the point in hearing about what I've done? I want to get you inspired, give you some inspiration. So hopefully that's the goal at the end of this, that you come away thinking, wow, yeah, I'm going to go and change the world. Questions, Preda mentioned it as well. I'm going to leave a lot of time at the end for questions. So if you want to ask about freelancing or how to get a job or my favorite color, ask it then, put it in the chat, whatever. Or if you don't want to ask it in this forum now, just email me and we can chat over email or WhatsApp or whatever. Here are my contact details. I'll flash these up at the end as well, so don't worry about writing them down. But you got my device email, device Instagram, my personal email at the bottom there. And if you sign up at thisisdevice.com/DMNL, you'll get our newsletter every month, which should be a little bit insightful too. I will always reply to everyone. I think when I was a student and I used to email like these really good designers and ask for advice and stuff, and I never got replies, and that really pissed me off. So now whenever anyone, whether it's a student or someone early in their career or whatever, email me just to ask a question for a chat, I always reply. But you probably won't. You probably won't reply. I will. I sometimes I get quite busy, so you need to give me a nudge. And I'm not a dickhead either. Like if you email me saying hi mate UK, I'll reply saying yeah. I don't expect like super formal emails or anything like that. You know, we're all human. So just speak to me like you would one of your friends, and we can talk, and hopefully I can give you some advice. So back on topic, how to unfuck yourself. And I am speaking to you individually on this, because everyone has this mindset where you think you're not good enough, or you think you can't achieve things. And all of that stuff is purely in your own head. It's not because of anything else other than what you think about yourself. You're holding yourself back, and I want you to stop, is the bottom line. And it's the message I want to today. I want to help you stop doing that. One of you listening to this has the potential to change the world. You've got the potential to be Elon Musk or Steve Jobs or whoever. Like, they were all where you are now, and you can go forward and do it. And it's cheesy. I hate saying you can change the world, but it's so true. As young designers, you've got the power to create new things to change the world. So the first bit is I want to talk about all the bullshit you're probably saying to yourself for why you're not starting a project, or why you can't get that client, or why you can't go freelance, or why your work isn't good enough. And we've all said this to ourselves at some point. One of the best ones is, what if they laugh at me, or what if they think it's shit, or whatever. But who are they? Like, they only exist in your own head. That you might have a vision of who this person is to laugh at you, but it really doesn't matter. So if you ever find yourself thinking, I don't want to do that because of them, or because of what people on Instagram might say, just stop yourself and just remember that you do things for you. It doesn't matter if people laugh at you, and if they do, they're going to look like knobs anyway, not you. This is a huge one in business, in design, in anything really. That things aren't the right time. It's not the right time to quit my job. It's not the right time to start a business. And I guess this rings true right now more than ever. But it's never, ever, ever going to be the right time to do anything. You've got to push yourself to do stuff. Another one is, it's too risky. Everything is risky. If you never take risks, you're never going to learn. You're never going to move forward in life. So if you ever catch yourself saying, oh, it's too risky, it's too kind of out there or whatever, yeah, take a step back and think, no, I'm talking bullshit. And it's always in your own head, and no one else is saying that to you. Being comfortable as well. I hate it when people say this, I want to start a business, but I've already got a comfortable job. I've already got income every month. I'm happy. I think if we all wanted like adequate lives, I definitely wouldn't be a designer. If I wanted just a normal life, there's plenty of better ways to make money and be comfortable. So I hope you're on kind of the same page with me on that as designers, we don't want a comfortable life. We want a bit of excitement, and that's how we get it, through creating things and that kind of joy. And another one that everyone says throughout all disciplines, not just designers, why bother trying if I'm going to fail? And that's another thing. Just if you catch yourself saying that, just tell yourself to shut up, because it is bullshit. If you never tried anything new, you'd never learn anything. You still wouldn't be able to walk or talk or breathe. So Now we've gone through all the stuff, the negative stuff we don't want to say. I want to talk about the mindset you do need to move forward and to really try and change the world and to unfuck yourself. And I'm going to explain it with a story about a hot dog eating contest in New York. So this is Nathan's hot dog eating contest. And as you'd imagine, you have to eat hot dogs as fast as you can. That's the aim of the game. And it's very American. You get all these big fat Americans eating loads of hot dogs. Awesome. But what I want to talk about is, how do you win that and get that lovely belt? How do you win a hot dog eating contest? The obvious answer to that, and the most logical answer, is you should just eat hot dogs fast. Just pick up a hot dog and eat it quickly, and do it as quickly as you can. But that might not be the right answer. Often logic can work against you. So this is Takeru Kobayashi. And if there's any Japanese people or people who live in Japan on this Zoom, sorry for my pronunciation. But he has the mindset that we all need, and we can all take something from this. So prior to Kobayashi coming along, everyone just ate hot dogs like you normally would, but just really quickly. So they just stuffed them down and just ate them really fast, because that's the most obvious way to eat a hot dog eating contest. But Kobayashi proved that that isn't the most obvious way. And what he did was he removed that subconscious limit that everyone had placed on themselves. The competition had been running for 29 years, and everyone had just eaten hot dogs like you normally would, but just quicker. And then Kobayashi saw that actually that's not the best way to do it. He saw that people were placing this limit on themselves, and then he reframed it and saw it as a sport rather than just eating fast. So how do you eat a hot dog? Again, like the picture, we pick it up and put it in our mouth and eat it. But what Kobayashi did to remove that limit and think about it more, he reframed it and thought about it in a more creative way. He picked the hot dog up, broke it in half, pushed it to the back of his mouth where your molars are, because that can grind the food up more efficiently. While he was eating that, he dunked the bread in some water so it slid down his throat quicker. Sorry if you're squeamish. And then he smushed that into his face. And so he's taken that process and refined it to give himself a breakthrough, just because he reframed it in his head and removed that limit that everyone else was putting on themselves. The previous world record for the hot dog eating competition was 25 hot dogs. So pre-Kobayashi, which was 2001, the record stood at 25 hot dogs in 12 minutes. When he came and used his new method, he ate 50 hot dogs in 12 minutes. So it's, no one ever just doubles a world record. Like, imagine someone come along and just double the world record. You never hear about that. It's always 0.1 or 0.2. It's the equivalent of someone running 100 meters in 4.79 seconds, which is half the current world record. Like, that's how kind of groundbreaking it was when he came along with a new method, purely because he'd removed that mental limit that everyone else was putting on themselves. As I said, 29 years of hot dog eating contests in America, these big Americans stuffing down hot dogs, and a 9-stone Japanese kid doubled the world record purely because of mindset. I've used hot dog eating, but there are massive other leaps that we can look at for this. You can think about card payment, pre-card and pre-digital payments. That it was unthinkable that you wouldn't be able to carry cash one day, and now, right now, everything's cashless. That's a massive leap, and it came from purely someone removing that limit of you have to have something physical to trade for another object. We can talk about MP3, the move from physical music to digital music, again, a massive leap, purely because someone rethought the process and redesigned that experience. SpaceX, another good one as well. I definitely read up on the innovative steps they took. And Elon Musk is he's a very, very innovative person, and he gets shouted about a lot. But what he does, and where all these giant leaps come from, including Kobayashi's hot dog eating, is that people don't design within their means. They first design what they want, and then they work out how to get there. And if you put enough effort into that working out process, you will get to where you want, or you'll find something new and cool anyway. Further reading, if you want to read about Kobayashi and hot dog eating, like you're weird like me, there's a really good episode of Freakonomics podcast, which is a really good podcast anyway, episode 173. I think it's called a Better Way to Eat, and he interviews Kobayashi and talks about his kind of rise. And YouTube as well, just watch Like, it's really interesting just to watch him eating hot dogs. He like shakes as well. It's really strange. It's pretty cool. So now I've kind of waffled on about you talking shit to yourself and eating hot dogs. I want to talk about how you can actually put into practice this mindset of removing your own limits on yourself. First of all, and this is where I struggled with for kind of the early part of my career and probably the early part of my life as well, is that I didn't really know what I wanted. I didn't know what kind of actually really motivated me. And so then I couldn't go and do what I wanted because I didn't know what it was. You've got to find out what really motivates you. It might be product design. It might not be product design. You might be sitting here thinking, actually, I don't want to be a designer. In that case, don't do it. Do something that truly motivates you. You've got to have like a really awkward conversation with yourself, because it's a hard one, really. Like, trying to find out what you actually want in life. It's really awkward, and you've got to really think about it kind of deeply and for a long time. And a lot of people run away from it and they don't want to have that conversation with themselves. A good way I found is to kind of write stuff down, to think deeply about it, and just really allocate time to thinking about what you want from life and how you're going to do that. And once you know what you want, just go and fucking get it. Don't let anything else stand in your way of getting that thing. Just take the first step and go and do it. Again, we spoke about them and they, and we kept, we're essentially worried about what these imaginary people in our head are going to think about whatever we do. And they only exist in our own heads. When we think about, they're going to laugh at us or whatever, it's purely our own heads. So we make a conscious effort to remove that and stop those thoughts. Like, I still get it a lot now. I said to Predia last night, the whole device idea, people think it's crazy, and a lot of people even laugh at me and stuff, but I don't really care, because it's so finely in tune with what I want from life and my motivation, so it doesn't matter. Fuck all these people and whatever you've constructed in your head, and focus on you, not anyone else, and focus on what you care about. Because if there's any time to be really, really selfish, it's when you're like young. And I don't mean to be ageist with this, but when you're young, often you have less responsibility, thinking about kids and family and stuff like that. It's the perfect time to just be super selfish. And if you're older as well, and you find, you've in your younger life, you were doing other stuff, and now you've not got that responsibility and you can be selfish, do it. Always focus on you and try and, progress your career, your skills, and try and get out of life what you want, because, no one's really got any regrets until they're on their deathbed and they think, oh, I wish I could have done that. So do it now. Don't hold yourself back. Be selfish. Take the first step as well. Another kind of common one you hear in design, break it down into small chunks or whatever, or just do the first bit. But often people don't even allow themselves to start something. You might think of an idea for a project or developing a new product, and then straight away you talk yourself out of it and say, oh no, but it'll be stupid, or it'll fail, or it'll cost too much money. But how do you know if you haven't even taken that first little step, just whatever it is, to draw it on paper, to write it down, to tell a friend about it, to Google it? Just do that first tiny thing, and then it'll snowball. Just don't talk yourself out of it before you've actually even done anything, because it's pointless. You're just wasting your energy thinking about stuff. If you've figured out what your kind of dream is and what your motivations are, I'd hope it's like fucking massive. Like, I'd hope it's, to be a huge person or to make massive change in the world, which is daunting to say, I'm going to do this. So take that first little tiny step and then let it snowball from there. Just do one tiny little thing, whether that's putting your shoes on and walking out the house, getting in your car, sending an email. Just do that tiny little thing just to kickstart you. One of the best pieces of career advice I ever had was someone who told me you should always feel uncomfortable, and you should always be uncomfortable with everything. Whether that's kind of that you're pushing your skills, or you're doing a talk like this, or you're tutoring someone, or whatever, you should always feel like you're uncomfortable. Because being comfortable, as I said before, it's just boring and it's plain. And, having an adequate life might be what you want. You might just want a quiet life, and that's okay. Go and do that. But if you really want to, push yourself and achieve whatever your dream is, you're going to have to make yourself feel uncomfortable quite a lot. And sometimes people talk to me about like imposter syndrome, not feeling like they're good enough. And I don't think I've ever felt good enough to do anything, even sitting here now speaking to you guys, or designing products. I always look back on things and think, how the fuck did I do that? I'm not qualified to do that. But you have to push yourself and you have to be uncomfortable with what you're doing. Go out of your own way to give yourself a hard life. Make your life hard on purpose so you can learn more and fail faster and get ahead more. And if your life is super easy and breezy and you find it like just a cruise, you're probably not learning enough. You're probably not doing enough. So just really use your full potential. I think as humans, there's massive potential to go and do stuff. So just go and do it. I spoke about imposter syndrome just then. And this is another great piece of advice I've had, is develop a complete disregard for your own ability. So in terms of that, like if you always designed or if you always did stuff in line with your own abilities, you'd never get better, because you'll always just be doing the same thing. You automatically put a ceiling on yourself by setting goals for what you can do right now, because what you can do tomorrow will be slightly different. So always push yourself. Take on a project, even if you think you can't do it, because you've got to try, and then you fail and you learn, and you try, you learn, you fail, and that's how you're going to get better. And that's how you're rapidly going to get better as well. People talk in design a lot about experience and say, oh, to be a senior, you've got about 5 years experience. You've got to be a junior for 2 years or whatever, or graduate. And that's all bullshit, because it's down to experience. And the best quality experience you can give yourself is by trying stuff that makes you feel uncomfortable and that's above your ability or above your pay grade or whatever. Just try it and go and fail, because people only remember failures for a little while, but they'll remember successes forever. Aim beyond what you're capable of. As I said, right now you're capable of one thing, but as you learn and as you fail, you're going to be capable of more and more. So keep aiming ahead. You should never put a roof on yourself or a limit on yourself like that. Nothing is impossible, not even eating 50 hot dogs in 12 minutes. People thought it was impossible one day, and then in 2001, Kobayashi came along and ate 50. So to conclude then, make sure you are not holding yourself back from anything. If anything in life is holding you back, whether it's lockdown or someone else or a job, make sure you're not that thing holding you back. Don't hold yourself back. If other outside factors, affect your life, it doesn't matter, because you're in control of you. No one else is in control of you. You're in control of your own actions, and nothing else matters. Not what other people think, not what other people do, not kind of global pandemics. None of that matters, because you're in control of what you do and how you react to situations. So remember that. And that's it. I think I've got through that pretty quickly, but I wanted to leave a lot of time open for Q&A as well. I've got my contact details here. So if you want to email me separately and ask me questions, go ahead. My mobile number's there too. So if you want to text me on WhatsApp, that's cool. And then I've got a couple of links to device there. We've got a reading list of some really good books I put together, some of my favorite books, and then the newsletter link there as well. So feel free to sign up. I hope you find that kind of insightful.
Thank you, Jordan. I don't want to speak too soon, because there's so much in there. I think everybody's brain is just kind of churning over. So I'm just going to sit quietly for a minute. Do you want to stop sharing, Jordan?
Yeah,
and then so I never feel that it's my responsibility to kind of condense or recap anything that anybody has said. So you've probably got some thoughts and you've got some notes, people, which is good. And yeah, we will be. There is an opportunity to ask questions, so feel free to put it in the chat, or just say I'd like to ask a question. But while those questions are coming in, I'd like to question you a bit more, Jordan, about the branding of the device. I'm kind of interested in the company you've set up yourself. To set up a company to come up with ideas for businesses. So you don't actually make anything, but you just create the ideas. But I'd like you just to discuss your thought processes a bit about the branding on it, because if anybody goes and Google it now, it's quite distinctive, and it's definitely not vanilla. So just explain, why did you go with that one?
So I've done kind of branding and stuff for startups and whatever. And to develop a good brand, it's always got to be linked to why the business started in the first place and to kind of a proper meaning. So why I started Advice was because I was working with companies and consultancies, and they were all saying ideas are the most valuable thing. Ideas and IP are the most valuable thing as designers because it's the way we think. And people talk a lot about selling time, but everyone I've worked with in consultancy world or big companies, there's no real value placed on it. And there's no real time given to it. It's always, we've got the latest 3D printer, we've got this CAD package, we've got whatever. So I wanted to start a business that purely focuses on the ideas, because I think a lot of businesses are quite bad at it. And I find it really fun as well. That's another reason I started it. So then in terms of the brand then, what I wanted to reflect with that is that when you create ideas and when you're in a workshop and you're using Post-its or whatever, or scrolling stuff down, it's super quick and it's rapid and it's under-designed. So I wanted to create a brand to reflect that feeling of like rapid, quick, rough ideas. So the brand is based on, it's on purpose designed badly to reflect that when we create ideas, we move quickly and we don't have time to think about the details because it's not what it's about. So the brand is specifically under-designed. It's based on the way you'd kind of write stuff down in like boxes or highlight stuff. And it's intentionally just rough and bad, I guess. And another aspect of that is that I want it to be polarizing and I want people to hate it. Because I've had such a split on it that some people say, oh mate, I fucking love it, like it's so cool. Other people say that's horrible, including some of my closest, in fact, two of my closest friends, one of them has been a mentor to me for years, both hate it. And every time I send them something and say, what do you think of this? They say it's horrible. But I know that, again, linking back to the meaning of Device and wanting to sell ideas and reflecting that in a brand, it doesn't matter what they think because it's about that message and that meaning I'm trying to deliver. And if I can, convince one or two people that it's good and to use my services, then I think I've won at the end of the day.
Yeah, it reminded me, and again, I know, don't take this, take this whatever way you want, really, but it reminded me when Word started to come on computers and loads of people were doing posters and stuff. It took me back to that era of just those kind of boxes and the colours and stuff. Right, we've got some questions. Okay, I'm gonna read this one. I'm going to read it as it was sent in. So I hear repeatedly from industry that today's graduates aren't prepared for the realities of full-time design work, and they often have to be brought up to speed to be valuable to the bottom line. Could you share a bit about your experience with this and help us to be better prepared by sharing some advice on key things to focus on?
Yeah, I think I felt exactly like that when I graduated, because I left Bangor, after third year, and I remember leaving and thinking, for that third year, I'd worked the hardest I've ever worked. I got a first class degree, and I thought I was the dog's bollocks. I thought I was like such a good designer, and I left thinking that, and then I went into the real world, and I was applying for jobs in consultancies and different things, and I realized I was actually, compared to everyone else I was looking at, I was terrible. I was really bad in terms of skill set, just communication, design theory. I realized I was bad. So I brought myself up to speed with reading and through being in consultancies and trying stuff or whatever. And I guess in industry, whenever you bring a graduate in, you're going to have to bring them up to speed, because you cannot reflect the realities of industry in a university course. You can't reflect that a client might just be a dickhead and shout at you about something, or you can't reflect that one day someone will have lots of money, like a startup that's heavily invested, then the next day they won't, and the budget's slashed and you have to stop designing almost. There's no way you can reflect the realities of that, and industry is so different wherever you are as well. But the best way to prepare yourself for it, I'd say, is start doing freelance work in university. Try and get clients, whether that's pro bono, just charities for free, or just graphic work or whatever, but start that in uni, because when you're in university, I think you feel like you're working really hard, but when you get an actual job, it's nothing. Like even the third year, you think, oh, I'm so stressed this year. When you get into a good job, it will be 10 times as stressful as university is. So now I've left, I realized I had so much free time in uni and I never used it to do anything actually productive. I just drank and played rugby. So definitely do that. Do freelance work. Read up on design as well. Just read books, podcasts, whatever. Just get your head properly into it. And as I mentioned in the talk as well, just try stuff. Like you're going to feel underqualified for the rest of your career, but just have a stab at it and try it. Because as a graduate in a workplace, you've almost got a kind of a free pass to fail because everyone expects you to anyway. So really try and achieve, beyond your own capabilities. And if you're successful, then great. If you're not, you learn something. So yeah, I'd say do freelance work, just try stuff.
Cool, thank you. I think Dan Roberts has got a question. Do you want to ask it, Dan? Here we go. Cool.
Yeah, Dan.
Go for it. Hi. Okay. Thank you for that. I might got a lot of notes. My question is about sketching on paper. I think, I don't know if you'll like this, but I think the majority of designers, or majority of us, are hypocrites. In a way that in a way that we try and design products that are sustainable and ecological friendly. Sorry.
Yeah. Don't worry, mate.
Yeah. Through designing on paper. And I think a big global crisis these days is deforestation. As I'm sure you'll know about it. And through my research, I found that 28 million hectares of forests are lost each year. That's, I think, worked out like one field full of forest per second, which is madness. And we're trying to design products that are ecologically friendly, but we're designing it on paper. And in the same breath, we're asked to design on, we're asked to fill a sketchbook every day or 2 days, as much as we can. And if everyone's doing that, that's making a huge effect. So my question is, have you used or know about any substitute for paper that doesn't really include glass or cost £1,000?
Yeah. I think the way you sketch and design, it's personal, and there are digital tools out there, but like you say, they cost a lot of money. I think it is a tough one, really, because I use a ton of paper. Like I've got notebooks filled, and I kind of value them quite a lot and always go back to them. But in terms of alternatives, I think the only good alternative is digital, whether that's like an iPad, a Wacom, or whatever. And I guess what sketching does in design, whether it's on paper or whatever, is it gets ideas from here into a format to communicate with people. So that doesn't necessarily have to be a sketch. It could be written, it could be a diagram, it could be pictures, it could be a physical prototype, which is way more valuable than sketching. So there are other tools you can use to communicate things, But I think on sustainability, designers have, I don't think designers have done it, but corporations have done it. Designers have been designing toothbrushes that are made of plastic that are used for a month and thrown away, and the material lasts for fucking years. Plastic bags. I love plastic. It's such a good wonder material for doing stuff, but the waste in the manufacturing process, the fact that people design like dog shit products, like things in crackers, like that are made of plastic, stuff people are going to throw away. That's where I think designers can have a fucking massive impact, is in that design, because we're in control of how things are designed, how much material is in a product, what material it is, and we can influence the manufacturing process. And I really believe that as designers, we can change that and implement change in that, and I think there's a huge consumer pull as well, which is, it's good now, but really it should have been pushed from designers and manufacturers to use more sustainable products. But now consumers are pulling that down and saying, we want this. So there's definitely more of a drive for that.
Yeah, so I understand, like, designers these days, every designer these days, hopefully, is designing products that helps the world, really, in the environmental crisis in a way. But I don't know, there's a part of me that thinks as I'm doing these sketches and I'm doing it on the paper, we're designing these brilliant products, but the very material that we're designing on is actually having a big effect on the world.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if you knew of something out there that was a substitute for that. I know there's different apps and things like that you can do on iPads. iPads are brilliant these days, but it's as you'll know, it's not the same as paper, is it?
No.
So
Yeah, in terms of a direct replacement, and I love sketching on paper, I've never found it, and that's why I still use paper, because I've never found anything that gets my ideas out quicker.
yeah,
But I think, in terms of like living your life personally, you've just got to be careful.
yeah,
And yeah, like I've got tons of notebooks here, and I always use them as reference. I've got a drawer full of them, and I always go back to them and read through them and stuff like that. So I guess it's the value of it as well, and how you use it. So
yeah, it's like I'm writing all the notes down on paper here today.
yeah.
So it's the same here. But have you heard of the Remarkable tablet? I was looking into the Remarkable tablet the other day.
Yeah.
What's your views on them?
There's been a couple, I think, over the past few years. There was one called like Iskin or something like that as well that said it was the same as drawing on paper, and I've tried a few and they never are. It's never the same thing.
Okay.
But there will be something soon, I'm sure. Technological advancements. There'll be something come along.
Yeah.
I hope.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Awesome. No worries. I think you're on mute, Predator, if you're speaking.
Thank you. Going to call on Jack. Jack has got a question and he's going to switch his camera on now. Cool. Jack's on mute as well, is he?
Sorry, I had my interface selected. That's my fault. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, cool. So the question I had was kind of when you were touching upon in that talk a minute ago, you touched upon kind of not letting yourself hold yourself back. My question is related to a couple of personal things as well. It's basically, I wanted to know how you deal with setbacks that aren't necessarily because of that mentality. So that is like stuff like clients letting you down, or other businesses letting you down, or maybe people in your personal life that are getting in your way, or stuff out of your control getting in the way. Like, how do you deal with that kind of stuff?
I think that's quite a big one. And I think if my partner was in the house now, she'd shout at me for saying this, because I always say it. But you just got to remember that you're in control of your own actions and yourself, and everything else you can't influence it. If you've got no control over lockdown or over what a client does, that you can't let it get you down. You can't worry about it or let it bother you, because it's completely out of your control. I mean, you can be pissed off and emotional about it, but I always remind myself that if there's nothing I can do about it, let's not focus on that thing, and let's focus on me and try and get myself ahead further. It's how you deal with those things rather than how you let it affect you.
Okay.
And I almost hate myself for saying it, because it's so easy to go, don't worry about it. But yeah, it's super important, and it comes from the Stoic. I think it's Stoic, the Greek mentality. The Stoics. I read a book about it, and that's their mentality, is that outside factors you can't control, so don't worry about them. But you can control yourself and what you do, so focus on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, no, that's fair enough. I kind of want to follow up on that as well. Is say, obviously, you've developed your own business, your own kind of brand for your own company, I suppose.
Sorry, I disappeared.
What my worry is that, more so for my kind of side of stuff, but the question kind of relates to both sides, is say your freelancing becomes a bigger company than you yourself can handle, you need to employ other people. I'm sort of struggling to see how, like, not that the mentality is bad, I agree with what you said, it's that how to employ that on to other people that are trying to help you grow your business.
Yeah, that's a tough question, I think. I think with hiring people for any business, and I spoke about that greater meaning of why you started that business.
Yeah.
It's hiring people who they might not even be good at the job. They might be crap designers, but they buy into what you do and why you do it. And that's more important than anything, because you can never teach people that or expect people to just do that. No matter how much you pay them, people have to be bought into what you're bought into as well. They have to be on the same page. One of the best companies for that is Patagonia, who their mission is essentially, to reduce impact of products that they make and stuff. And they employ people who have that same mentality over skill level and over talent level. And I think if you do that, that immediately sets everyone off on the right foot, because you're already working towards the same greater goal, rather than personal intentions or different things.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No worries.
Nice one.
Thank you, Jack. Are there any other further questions? Nothing's come through the chat yet. We've gone through all of them.
I have a question.
Cool. Who's here?
Danny.
Are you switching your camera on? You're going to be brave. Here we go. Cool.
I have the blinds closed. Sun's in my face for this. I just wanted to ask, what products have come out from the well, I know that your company only does the ideas, but like what has come out from that from those ideas in the real world that we can go and look up?
Yeah, so at the minute, nothing. I only started the company formally, I think it was like 2 months ago. It was like during lockdown.
Okay.
But at the moment, I'm looking for charities, pro bono clients, non-profits that I can work with to develop my process and to see how it works completely for free with them, to do that with. And then as an aside to Device, something we have actually done is I've run one event, and I was intending to run them every month, but lockdown. So we ran an event where we brought a load of creative people together, and the thing we talked about was defining a problem well. So we focused on that one thing, brought loads of people together, and we did a workshop. And then 2 people went off and made a podcast, made loads of good connections and stuff like that. And the intention was to run one in Bangor, like North Wales, because I know we've got Anglesey, Spark, and all you students as well, and go to like Liverpool, Manchester, London, do all this cool stuff with the events. But like I say, it's kind of stalled. But yeah, keep an eye on our newsletter and Instagram and stuff. I generally just post kind of anything related to ideas and innovation. So keep an eye on that, and hopefully you'll see something, or you'll see it disappear one day, and I'll be like, yeah, I failed, but that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
How important, Jordan? Because surrounding yourself with like-minded people is kind of important, isn't it? To kind of for motivation and energy. And you mentioned when you were at uni, you said you felt that you wasted a lot of your time, or you had spare time that you could have taken advantage of. And we're working really closely with Spark on projects, and they email us when events and stuff are happening, and I fire those emails. And we've even had a few who's already been to a couple of those events. How important are those events, just to kind of tune in and be a part of that environment when you're a student, rather than waiting, I'll do that once I graduate and once I've got a job?
Yeah, like it's so important. I've only really started going to events and stuff since freelancing, because I realized I needed to kind of get to know people. I didn't do it before that. And it's so important, because all of my freelance work over the past 3 years has come from like face-to-face interactions. Like I met someone at an event who introduced me to someone else. It's all of my work, speaking personally, has come from those mouth-to-mouth people hearing about me speaking somewhere or meeting me. And it's so important to just get your head into the industry and find out in the local area what's going on, and wider as well, because you might go to an event, meet some people, and nothing will really come of it. But then 3 months later, they might email you and say, oh, you're a designer, aren't you? Well, I've got this friend who needs this. And that's how things have worked for me. So I definitely get to those events, especially when you're a student and you've got loads of time. Go and do it now rather than waiting, because when you've got a full-time job and other commitments, it's so much harder to go to these events, you know. So do it now, definitely.
I'm just saying, because I think there's a health hack happening quite recently in MSPAC, and you can, the challenges have been shared now, so you can even sign in just to kind of be an observer if you want, and just to observe and see what happens. You don't have to go and pitch an idea. And I think it's all digital because of the lockdown anyway, so it's a matter of just giving yourself an hour of tuning into an event, see what these things are about, and then taking advantage of those opportunities.
Definitely. Couldn't agree more.
I'm aware of the time. I'm happy to kind of go for one last question if somebody's would be interested. Kind of looking at my co-workers at the same time. Oh, I've got a question from Aled. Right. Please describe the nature, character, or personal attributes you look for in an employee.
I've never actually employed anyone. I've interviewed people for companies I've worked at, but I've never employed anyone for me. But I've worked with lots of other freelancers on the same team as me, and done shared projects and things. So I guess I can speak a bit. But I think that whenever I work with anyone, the biggest thing I look for is, you know, what their motivations are. Are they the same as mine? You know, are we on the same page? You know, in that kind of alignment. Often that's project specific, or it could be greater than that. So there's that, you know, what is their motivation for doing things? And whenever I work with a client, I always ask them, why did you start your business? Why are you doing what you're doing? And if the answer is ever like to make money, or because I fell into it, like I switch off straight away. So the biggest thing is motivation. And the next biggest thing is being a good communicator. And that relates to graphic communication, speaking, writing stuff down. Just, you know, is someone easy to talk to? That's huge for me, because as a designer or anyone, if you can't communicate an idea well, you know, you can't get it out there. So the biggest thing is motivation. The next biggest thing is communication in general, whether that's graphic or otherwise. You're on mute again there, Freddie.
I was going to just say that Dewi's camera is on, so I think he wants to say something. Over to you, Dewi.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan.
No worries.
As far as I was concerned, you were a legend as an undergraduate. So, and you did work hard, and you did play hard, and you had some fantastic projects. I think when we first start as designers, we like sort of creating things, you know, and adding value and thinking about our concepts and what our approach is to stuff. But I don't know, increasingly so, I see that that's becoming a less of a role. You know, you expect a designer to be able to design stuff and get stuff to work and make it marketable and, you know, answer the needs of the users and all those normal things that we want. But I'm sort of thinking it's only probably worth, and maybe it's a leading question, but I only think it's probably worth about 20% of the actual skill set that you really want to use. And what people should be buying into, and what people are really buying into with designers now, is their mindset. I don't know if you can add to that as regards the same system as you set up now, and you're thinking about, you know, how much challenge was there, you know, when you work for Design Reality and stuff, how much challenge was there really that starting point or that product they want to develop was actually the right avenue to begin with? Did they actually challenge them again about those issues?
Yeah, I think you're right about the skill set side of things. You like thinking about CAD, sketching, layout graphically. It's still a big part of being a designer, but it's almost like when you go into industry or work for a client, you're just expected that you're really fucking good at all that, and you can do it really quick as well. Like I remember being in uni and people hated doing CAD, but now like I'm so fast on CAD, it's nothing. And then you can focus on other stuff and focus on that greater meaning. Yeah, as a designer, it's the designer's mindset of thinking about problems and questioning the client, and you know the ideas side of things. That's where like the most value is. Whether it's like on a big grand project, or whether it's just thinking about a small mechanism, you know, you flip it on its head or do something small. It's that thought, because if you want to just go and like do CAD all day or sketch all day, there are jobs that exist for that, but there's no real impact. And that's where, you know, you get designers who produce crap all day, like all plastic shit, and just draw crap that doesn't work. So the designer's greatest value is that holistic, greater thinking. All the skills stuff, you should just be rapid at that. And that'll come in the first few years of employment. You just be super quick at all that stuff and then focus on the rest. So yeah, I think you're bang on.
Cool.
Thanks, Jordan. Because I think that's actually what people are paying for, and that's what's going to get you the pay that you deserve, really. Because anybody can just sit by a CAD station all day and churn out that stuff and get a decent wage.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
just be bored.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're not adding any value. You're not questioning the system or why things work that way, or they could do it a more efficient way. And having that overview, I suppose, is what people are paying for these days, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Jordan.
Right. Thank you, Jordan. I'm going to draw things to a close. I'd like to thank you very much for your time this morning, and obviously wish you well with your future projects. And I definitely keep in touch with the device and see how that is going as a way to support businesses. So thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you.